Yo guys, welcome to my guide to Civ 5 Vox Populi early game. Now, I guess this is somewhat of a 100 subscriber thank you video. I do appreciate that, and the nice comments as well. Honestly, I was not expecting to have any viewers at all, pretty much, when I started making videos. I just really enjoy this game, to be honest, and played enough of it that started getting somewhat decent at it, having interesting games, and I was like, I'll just put them on YouTube, see what happens. And yeah, the reason I really am enjoying this game is that you really have so many options of like things to do and ways to play, especially at the start. And it's pretty rare, I feel like, that I ever lost a game and didn't think, oh, I definitely should have done something different there, or at least could have done something different there that could have helped me. So, yeah, I'm just going to go through some of the stuff that has definitely helped me to be a lot more successful and die a lot less. I do play on Deity, so I guess this will be somewhat focused around that. Playing better is playing better though, it's going to help you on all difficulties, so I'll try and point out when stuff is more like higher difficulty specific, but advice should be useful for all games really. And yeah, I might do a separate video on game setup, because not all of you are probably interested in that, so let's just get into a game. These are the settings that I do usually play on though. Alright, so we got Austria here. Now, first main piece of advice I would say is just take your time. This is not an RTS, it's turn-based, so we don't need to rush anything. Make sure you know like what all of your Civ abilities are, like the special ability here, because these are always, or pretty much always, very powerful. Unique units as well, and unique buildings, or sometimes you get unique improvements or great people and stuff like that. So yeah, make sure you're familiar with what kind of stuff your Civ wants and how you should be playing towards. So with Austria, plus 50% rewards from city-state quests, marriages with city-states using gold, while at peace, no influence decay, 1 additional delegate, and great person rate in capital by plus 15%. Then we get this guy who is a unique Cuirassier, which is quite late on. Okay, yeah, it has the lightning warfare one, so that means it gets an extra movement and stuff. Doesn't look amazing, honestly. And then unique building plus great people creation. This replaces what a grosser. 10% of culture turned into science. Okay, so to me, neither of these look particularly amazing. This seems pretty good though. Seems like focusing on city-states is the way to go, and great people as well. Alright, time to settle the first city. So, depending on where you settle, you'll get different yields. If we settle on a river flat, we get 3 food, 1 production. Any hill, 2 food, 2 production, and flat without a river, 1 and 2 food, 1 production. You also get additional yields on top of that, so if we were to settle on here, we would get 2 food, 1 production, and 2 gold, since there's already 2 gold here. And if we settled on a hill which already had 3 production, because of say a resource, then we would still get 3 production, so 2 food, 3 production if we did that. We want to have a little look around, see exactly what there is to see. See a slight bit of coast there. And there is coast. Okay. That is pretty useful to know. Alright. Now, coast actually has a lot of uses. One of them is for trade routes, which are good for city-states and for internal trade routes as well. So, since we're city-state orientated, coast would definitely be nice for us. It's kind of annoying that we've been put like a few tiles away from it though. Not a great place to get to from it. The other use for coast is when you're trying to conquer stuff, you want to be able to build boats in your capital, because you're going to need boats from somewhere if you want to get around the world and use your troops. And boats are just good in their own right, honestly, for conquering cities. The other thing we can see from here is that our main resource is tobacco, because we have two of them very close to us. And what I mean by that is there's going to be a lot of tobacco like around us. So we already found some more down here. And there's probably going to be 6 or 7 within our kind of localish area. And this affects a number of things. So like what tech you'll need in order to get that resource in line depends on which resource it is. So for this we need plantations. And we can have a little look here and see that a tobacco with a plantation gives +3 gold, which is not amazing. If you can, tobacco is 3 from the bottom there. If you can see above that, there's tea and coffee. Both of those are incredibly good. So like kind of worth rushing to, whereas tobacco is not really. But we still are going to need calendar eventually to get them online. What it does have going for it though is a pretty nice monopoly bonus of +2 faith from resource tiles if you get the monopoly, which means you have more than half in the world, like improved, of the resource. And you can see that on here once you have one of them. If you hover over here, it will tell you how many you need. So you need more than half. So if there's 8, you'll need 5. And normally there is around 8 or 9. So you normally need, like 5. So we don't really want to run away from the tobacco. It's quite a nice one to settle on though, because the improvement isn't great, and we would get the +2 gold and the +2 faith from Monopoly just from settling on it. Unfortunately, these are not on rivers, so that is not the best course of action here. And you do want a good mix of tiles close to your capital. That's probably the most important thing, I would say. So if you can get any of the 3 tiles, so 3 food or 1 food, 2 production, 3 production, which we can see up here, or 2 food, 1 production, they're all pretty good. And you want kind of a mix, so you don't want all food near you or all hills or something. You want a bit of both so that you can swap around, and it's especially good for making settlers, which you're going to have to do in your capital. Honestly, you normally can't go too wrong with just settling where you are. If you settle where you are, you definitely won't settle on top of a resource, which is nice. And normally you get put on a river or something. Here I would recommend just settling here or here. I'm crazy though, so I'm going to go up there because I want to be next to this food, and I want to be next to the marble as well, because of marble gives bonus production when building wonders. And as Austria, that's kind of what you want to do, I would imagine. Okay, so we delayed ourselves a bit here by 3 turns, which maybe isn't worth it, but like I said, I'm a bit crazy, so I did that. And yeah, let's settle. Now, first decision we have here is generally going to be between one of these two. Yeah, I can't really think of when you would ever go for one of these first. So, Monument gives culture and reduces culture cost of acquiring new tiles. Shrine just gives faith. So Monument is going to help you get to your first policy quicker, which is generally very good. As a tradition and authority, the openers are really, really good. Progress is less important because, yeah, you don't have to get it early basically for it to be good. And Shrine is, yeah, just gives faith, so it helps you get to your Pantheon quicker. I would say generally you will want it to get a Monument, as, like I said, policies are generally very good. And the earlier you get the first one earlier, then you get the next one earlier, and they just get better and better really. Shrine, I mean, religions are also really good if you can get them. There's not too many scenarios in which Shrine is that useful though, because a lot of times you won't really be ready for your Pantheon anyway that early. Like, you'll need a bit of time before the faith starts adding up from it. So generally I would only go Shrine if I was planning to go Progress, so the culture's not so important, and if there was an Pantheon that I knew that I wanted that came online early. The problem is, even if you go Shrine first, you probably won't get first Pantheon, especially on high difficulties. So you can still get the one you want stolen, and then, you're kind of screwed there. If you actually do want first Pantheon, it's kind of better to probably build a Monument and go for Stonehenge, if you can get that. So we're going to get a Monument here anyway, as I definitely want to get my culture online. And if you're playing Tradition, which we probably will be here, you always want to go Monument first, even if you want a religion. Yeah, if you're unsure, I would definitely just go for a Monument, because you can't really go too wrong with it. But if you get a Shrine first and it's not useful, you could definitely regret it. And yeah, now you need to choose the tech. So 5 options here. Got pottery, trapping, wheel, animal husbandry, and mining. So I suppose first thing to consider is, do you want one of the wonders? They're both pretty good, I would say. I wouldn't just get them for the sake of it though, because you can get beaten to them and that's kind of a game over right there. So don't go for them unless you have decent production and unless you actually have a good use for them. So don't go for Stonehenge unless you're going for religion. And I wouldn't really go for pyramids unless you're doing great people stuff either. They are gettable though if you rush for them. I would say around turn 30 on standard is where you want to be having them done by. We're on epic though, so about 45. Now I guess other things to consider are like if you have any unique units or unique buildings or something, powerful stuff that you want to be getting early on, as they can be super good, like slingers for example here. And also like what resources could be around you. So deer tend to spawn in forests, bison on plains. You get horses and cattle on plains and grassland, sheep on hills, and yeah, stone on flat. And then is there potentially fish around you that you could find as well? That would require pottery. And yeah, you do need pottery to build settlers. So I generally would get pottery as either my first or second. If I'm not sure what to go for, I just get pottery because it's always useful. And you can get the granary as well, so you need 4 pop to build a settler, but granary will give you the plus 25 food. That will often get you there. So this is the quickest way to get your second city out. Just going straight for pottery. But yeah, if you think there's a good chance of there being another resource around and your squares are kind of rubbish, you might want to go for another one first. Or obviously, if you want to get a wonder. Realistically around us, there's not going to be that much because we're in hills and stuff. Down here there's probably some horses and stone or something. And there potentially could be some fish. I am going to go for mining though, since I would really like pyramids in this game. And though we did delay ourselves a bit, I think we can still get it because we've got very nice tiles around here. Other thing to mention here is it's pretty good to use your gold early on. I got a ruin down here that gave me gold. And also I got some for meeting Zurich as well, so I already actually have enough to invest in something. And I would really recommend, use your money early. I wouldn't normally buy tiles unless it's one of those atoll things that are really good early on. But I would invest in one of these, and say if I invest in the monument, I'll get it 10 turns earlier. It reduces the cost by half. And my shrine will also be 10 turns earlier after that, because the monument will finish earlier. So if I waited to invest in the shrine, I would kind of be losing 10 turns of having a monument. So I'm going to go straight for this. The other option is to save up for either units or a worker, which are both pretty good. But we're not going to need a worker for a little while because we're not going to have calendar, and we probably won't be trying to use units that much early on. I'd much rather just get to my first policy quickly. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about scouting here. Now, you generally want to scout kind of towards, I would say, the center of the map when possible. So we can see there's tundra down here, and there's a lot of ocean around us. So, generally we would want to try and scout upwards rather than downwards because there's tundra there. We don't have that many options of where to go because of all the coast. But if you try and scout towards the center of the map, you're going to find more of the other civilizations, and you're going to be able to compete with them for the ancient ruins, which are obviously very good to get, and then you can kind of circle back around to the ones that are going to be more exclusive to you at the edge. And you get some unique promotions with your scout, which can actually be incredibly useful. So we get Trailblazer or Survivalism, and there's a whole tree for them here. So Trailblazer is basically to help you scout more, double movement, and you get these scouting that gives even more movement down here. And Survivalism is for using it for combat, basically. And if you get up to Survivalism 3, you get heal every turn, and it'll be healing for like 20 HP a turn as well. So you can attack and heal. You will get quite a lot of experience with your Pathfinder because they get experience from exploring new tiles. So you generally will get quite deep into the trees. And yeah, it really depends what you want to be doing. So if you manage to get one of the ruin upgrades, which turn it into a scout, then having the combat one becomes incredibly powerful. You can like solo barb camps with it pretty much, and definitely solo lonely warriors and stuff. Anyone who was about for the Denmark game saw a pretty good example of that. But on the other hand, this is really great for exploring the world quickly. You can get in here and you just start getting crazy experience as well. You can get through here super quick. And we really want to be exploring the world because we want to meet as many city-states as possible since we get the city-state bonuses. So that is the way we want to go here. In terms of later on, you can kind of turn your scout into a medic as well if you start taking these promotions. I guess it's something you kind of have to play around with, but I've found it to be really useful actually if you already have melee units. And it's like a medic that you can easily move around. And like the way combat works in this, you will want to be like using your units and then bring them back to be healed and stuff, so you do actually get a lot of use out of it. We're going to take Trailblazer though. Like I said, we want to find all the city-states, and obviously we got the scout upgrade. Still though, we want Trailblazer because we're not too bothered about killing units. Wow, even more money as well. So we could even invest in the shrine, or we could save up for a worker. Pretty good stuff. You generally will want to build the other building that you didn't build here as well, once the first one is done, so we'll get that shrine queued up now. Alright, now we get a pretty big choice here, which is the policy choice. This will actually make a pretty big difference in kind of the whole way that the game goes, to be honest. Like, the way that you want to play the game, and like, the strengths that you'll have honestly for like the rest of the game. So generally what you'll want to do is just pick one policy tree and kind of go through that one, getting all the policies, because they have these, each policy you unlock additional bonus, and then also there's bonuses for getting the whole tree, which is there's a unique wonder for each tree. You get to purchase a great person using faith from industrial era onwards, and other bonuses that you'll get for having all of them. So I mean, unless you really know what you're doing and you want to take a certain policy from one and then some from another, but I mean, that's beyond me, honestly. I would not recommend that. So like I said, the one you pick is going to affect the way that you want to play the game. I don't really have time to go through all of that specifically with each one, but I'll try and explain when it's best to pick each one. Big thing to keep in mind is what your civilization strengths are. So ours was great people and city-state, so we kind of want to be trying to synergize that with our policy choice. Since it can be very powerful if you create good synergies. Okay, first one here is tradition. As you can see here, it says focuses on generating great people and construction of an impressive capital. So gives a lot of food, gives bonuses to great person production, and a lot of bonuses to the capital as well. When you adopt it, you also get +2 population, which is quite crazy as like an instant thing. Then here, extra production and engineer, faith and artist slot, science and a scientist slot. This is food and culture plus a writer slot. And this is great person production and a merchant slot. So tradition has two main uses really. One of them is to go ham with great people. As it says, you do get a lot of bonuses to great people and specialist slots with this. So this can be super powerful if you have great people bonuses, for example. And the other use is that it gives you a pretty crazy early power spike with this +2 population. Definitely helps to get wonders, and can help you get a religion as well if you go into this policy second, which gives you faith. And that is the way that you'd normally go if you take tradition. Other advantages that are less obvious is it gives extra defense, and it's ranged combat strength. That's in all cities. So it's actually quite relevant, honestly, for defending cities. It is somewhat of a bonus. And generally the tradition things synergize really well with a lot of the religions and also with a lot of the wonders. So it just generally has a lot of synergy with other things. Disadvantages of tradition are that doesn't give a lot of bonuses to your other cities and your capital, so they normally end up being a little bit like weak and underdeveloped. You do end up with a lot of specialist slots, and also you get a lot of great people, so you have great person improvements. Basically it means you need to be working a lot of things with your population, so it doesn't work well with really good unique improvements or resources with good improvements, because you won't be able to work all of them and the specialists and great person improvements that you'll have. And also it is considerably weaker if you don't have a religion or some wonders backing it up. Like just a tradition on its own is not particularly powerful, I would say. But it does help you get wonders, and religion, so it does have that going for it. And it is, I would say it's a somewhat consistent way of starting your game. Like, even if you have terrible squares, as long as you have a bit of food, you can start working the specialists and have a decent capital. And also, in some cases, it can be ridiculously good. If you do get good wonders and religion, you can really snowball this and actually be ahead of Deity AIs, which is pretty unheard of. But, that's only in the top games where everything kind of goes your way. I suppose a slight advantage of this is it kind of also helps you complete city-state quests as well. I like to take tradition when I have like good land to defend in, so a lot of mountains and stuff like that, and if I have a very safe capital. Civilizations that are best with tradition, I would say, is Arabia, Byzantium, and Austria, who we do happen to be. Yeah, it's general great people and working well with religions are the reasons for those. Just to add a bit on there, tradition is probably the best way of getting consistent culture that can allow you to get onto some of the next policy trees. And yeah, it's definitely the best way of getting a lot of tourism as well, so best for culture victories. SA is pretty good for science and diplomatic, and can even be for conquering as well if you use the quick start to get things going. It can be slightly low on science though. There's only this one policy that gives science, and generally if you want science you'll need kind of science coming out of all of your cities, so it does not really help with that, as that's not enough. And the great scientists are somewhat useful, but they're not amazing, like kind of mid-game. They're quite good early and they're good late, but in the middle, not so much. So you can end up being behind on science if you aren't snowballing. Okay, now we're on to progress. So you get this 20 science when a citizen is born in your capital, 15 culture when a tech is researched. Both of these bonuses apply retroactively though, pretty much to the full extent, which means that's why you don't actually have to rush a monument with progress, because once you get the first policy you'll kind of get everything you would have had anyway. Then, yeah, +2 production every city, 1 movement for civilian units and 25% work rate, free worker here, production for building and culture from buildings, happiness everywhere, and food and science from city connections. So you can kind of see it generally is going towards having like a wide empire and having your workers improve stuff, which is definitely the first main use of this, which is to get resources online quickly. Like I said, some of them have really good improvements, so you can kind of like focus that, and that's a good way to get your cities up and running. And also, as I said, monopolies as well. Faith monopoly is a good way of getting religion, but you do need to get it online early if it's actually going to help you get a religion. So progress will definitely help you do that, thanks to the free worker. And the workers can also be used to make unique improvements. So if you have a good unique improvement you want to build, this will help you get a lot of them out. Other big advantages this science from new citizens is definitely the best way of getting science in the early game. Like this is the fastest policy tree for tech advancement. And you also get your second policy very early as well because of this bonus for all the techs you have. So you'll get your second policy before you would with any other policy tree, and that is what you need to build some of the wonders that are on the second tech tier. So it's also good for rushing out one of those wonders. Some other bonuses it has are that it gives general bonuses to all cities, like the +2 production and gold and building production here. So quite nice for wide empires. And reduce unhappiness as well, which is definitely useful. You get these great writers from Faith once you have all of the policies and you get to Industrial Era. They are the best great people in the late game. And also, even though it doesn't really help you to get a religion necessarily unless you have the monopolies or something, it does actually use other people's religions quite well. Like, you don't necessarily need a religion of your own. Some downsides though are that there's literally no direct combat bonuses, so it is pretty risky if you have close neighbours. And it doesn't really give a lot of culture, honestly, after that initial boost. So you do tend to get quite behind on culture unless you have other ways of making it. It's definitely pretty risky if you have close neighbours, especially if you're going to be involved in like land warfare with people. And because they won't even, if that happens, you won't even be able to get like the bonuses from having workers anyway, because you'll have to probably be cautious with them. I would say it's generally quite a weak one as well. I wouldn't take it unless I had like a good reason to. But there are some good reasons to, or good situations for it. One of the main ones I find is like coastal empires. So you can use the tech boost to kind of rush towards sailing and get lighthouses out. And with the lighthouses and this policy, that's pretty good science in all of your cities, to be honest. And this is kind of similar if you're on like a kind of an isolated island. You can do kind of a similar thing. And yeah, as I was saying, if you have unique improvements or good tiles that you want to get improvements on, it's definitely good with that. I would say the best civ with progress is Polynesia. That kind of fits all of the boxes, I would say. Because even though you sometimes want a war with Polynesia, it's normally naval warfare anyway, which progress is fine for. And other than that, Poland, because you get extra policies, Netherlands for the unique improvements, and I would say Babylon as well, because another thing which I kind of didn't mention is that you get the extra gold, and Forbidden Palace is a wonder to do with gold purchasing in cities, so it works quite well with being rich and using the gold to invest in buildings in your cities in like a wide empire kind of thing. Now, luckily, if you do think you'll be involved in land warfare, there is the authority tree just for you. So, insta bonus to combat strength versus barbarians, culture when you kill units and barb camps, and +1 production in every city for each policy. So this is bonus for tributing and borders expanding, science for killing units, and heal when you kill a unit, free settler, pretty nice one there. Bonuses when founding and conquering cities, bonus for garrison, and just plus 10% combat strength. And some free units and war weariness reduction. And yeah, Alhambra Wonder and Purchasing Generals in Industrial Era. A lot of nice bonuses in there. As I said, this is for war, as you can see by a lot of those bonuses. And like I said, the production is actually pretty relevant as well. Just having like +6 production in a new city is actually pretty awesome for getting all the buildings done. So pretty nice to wide empires in that respect. Unfortunately, doesn't give a huge amount of money, just from the policies. So if you have a lot of units, that can end up being a problem, as you have to pay a lot of maintenance. Doesn't really give a whole lot of science, all in all. Gives no real bonuses for getting a religion, and does rely quite a lot on killing units to get the bonuses, like the culture, and particularly barb camps. Actually, you really do get a lot for killing barb camps. But if you can't do those things, you will be low on culture. And one other thing is happiness also can definitely be a problem once you start conquering places. This is not a huge amount of happiness. So that's another issue that can happen. But having said that, barbarians are kind of everywhere, so it's quite unlikely that you won't have any barbarians around you, at least, that you could kill, even if you don't have other civs you can war with. And these bonuses do actually scale quite well, like the culture and science from killing units and conquering cities and stuff. And even though you can't, it's unlikely you'll get your own religion with authority, you can actually conquer other peoples and take them over that way, which is also nice. Despite all the kind of flaws, it probably is the best one, and you inevitably will end up at war with people, so having combat bonuses is literally always useful, even if you're not the one starting wars. But yeah, it's definitely not as good if you're in kind of like an isolated island kind of region, or if you're in really awful terrain like hills and mountains and stuff where you can't really be attacking people, and it's better for just defending. But yeah, if you're in flatland with neighbours close to you, you kind of have to take authority, honestly, because you're going to have to use your units to defend yourself at least. And just generally, if you're trying to conquer the world, you still will want to go authority in almost all situations, because it will help you throughout the whole game. Almost all civs have unique units at some point, so authority can pretty much work with every civ. But I feel like especially the ones that have like early unique units, it's particularly powerful with. And in terms of like the actual best civs, it really depends on what you want. I mean, I would say like Sweden and Carthage. But England's pretty good as well, actually. So yeah, a lot to think about here. Make sure you look through all of the bonuses and see which ones you think apply to your situation and your civ the best. In terms of our situation here, as I mentioned before, Austria is a very good tradition civ, and we also don't seem to have any close land neighbours, so we don't have to, take authority or something. And I'm also trying to build this wonder, so I kind of banked on taking tradition, honestly, to get the extra population to help get it done. I mean, we have Egypt somewhere, but we don't know where that is, so I assume it's somewhere over here. And not only that, but we have tobacco, which is something that we want to basically be putting great person improvements on rather than plantations, because they're not very good. So let's get that in, and as you can see, we got the 2 pop straight away here. and we'll put it straight to use there. Can't do that, unfortunately. Okay, one little quick thing to mention here is that you do actually want to try and literally see their capital, because that will allow you to make trade routes with them, other civs, which are generally very good, particularly on higher difficulties, and also you get to see if they're making pyramids or any other wonder, which they are. So yeah, it's good that we saw that. Maybe this isn't worth explaining here, but I am going to declare war on them here because basically the AIs get a bonus when they found new cities. So if he's building pyramids and he founds a new city, he's going to get a bonus to production to the pyramids that he's already building, which means he could actually beat me to it. I don't really want that, so I'm going to try and stop him settling a new city. I guess this kind of brings me on to a pretty important point, which is what to do with your units early on. And so I've got my warrior up here who I'm basically using to just defend against barbs, because we've got a couple of camps around that I can't really take care of yet. Because if barbs come and stand like next to your city, they kind of loot it, and you can get some ridiculous loots, man. Like ridiculous numbers, honestly. So you don't want to let that happen. So that's what he's doing. Quite often though, you will want to be kind of messing with your neighbor. So like if they were a bit closer, like over here, and we were competing to settle here, I would want to have my warrior waiting just in case they built a settler. You can also see when they build a settler because their population decreases by 1, so that gives you a little bit of warning. Like, we're too far apart here for that to be a problem, but yeah, doing that is genuinely super important if you're in one of those situations where you're both going to be going for the same spot, because you don't want them to settle a city like right next to your capital or something that's just going to be annoying you for the whole game. So either you can just kind of try and block by standing in the way, say if there's like if they're trying to get through mountains, or so they might in that situation they might just try and put their settler through because they can go on top of you, and then you can declare war and take it if you have to. And here I'm just going to try and generally block because we have the scout, so they won't want to be trying to attack it and get through. If I didn't declare war, they would just walk through like up here or here, wherever they wanted to settle, and I wouldn't really be able to stop them. Still gonna keep the warrior around here, I think, to defend though. Generally just messing with your neighbours is pretty good though. Like if I can come around here and start pillaging improvements or even stealing the worker, that would be pretty awesome. I mean, I'm playing peaceful here, so it's not as big a deal, but if you're trying to like conquer people, the best thing to do at the start is just try and stop them from ever getting strong in the first place. And I guess even if you're not conquering them, you don't want a ridiculous AI right next to you. So I couldn't actually stop him settling because, yeah, there's not much I can do with one scout. But I did manage to at least stop him coming this way, and he kind of settled a pretty rubbish city here. So I'm relatively happy with that. Hopefully the bonus won't actually be enough to get him the pyramid, since he did have to spend time building the settler. And now I'm going to try and pillage him a bit, since that's what good neighbours do. Alright, I think I'm going to cut this video here because otherwise this video is going to be ridiculously long. So we'll just do it in a few parts. Now, next part will be on choosing your pantheon, founding new cities, and choosing the next texts and wonders and stuff like that. Feel free to leave any questions you have in comments though. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next part.